A Build Hatch developed production.
Hello, I'm Aaron Kyle and welcome to another episode of Build Hatch. On this week's episode of Build Hatch, I got to sit down with Matt from CrewTraka. CrewTraka is a really practical subscription software for your business. Not only are these guys kicking goals in the construction space, but these guys are doing some exciting things in other industries. What you'll hear from our chat and what was really evident is just how passionate Matt is about not only CrewTraka's business, but all of the trades and building businesses and the people behind those businesses in our industry. This really shows in our conversation, in which you're about to hear. And I think knowing and understanding about the people behind construction businesses is really important. As you'll hear from our chat, the founders behind CrewTraka come from the daily challenges that they too experience in running their construction businesses. And that's also an important attribute. So let's get into it. Matt from CrewTraka, welcome to Build Hatch.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
I'm really looking forward to this one. Now, you guys are doing some amazing things in the construction space and now emerging into other industries, which I'm always fascinated to hear about. So I guess, first of all, can you sort of share a little bit of insight into what CrewTraka is about?
Well, CrewTraka came about probably about 4 years ago. It was actually the brainchild of Brett Mile. So I can't take any credit apart from the design and development side of things. And we've got a great team behind us doing a lot of that. But Brett Mile, who owns Swell Constructions and Swell Building Group, basically was looking around for some software that he could use to streamline a few processes within his business. Now, keep in mind, probably not dissimilar to other tradies who sort of run their own businesses. He's not what you would call computer savvy, and like most tradies, they'd probably be out rather running their business than sitting in front of a computer screen. So, if Brett had to spend more than, 15, 30 minutes trying to figure something out, it probably wasn't going to work for him long term. So, he outlined what his hopes and dreams were for something in that space, and what he said about building something that was going to tickle his boxes first and foremost. He was quite prepared to sort of develop something that was going to only ever be used for running things in his business. And as it happened, we created something that was unique in the marketplace and has just, taken off and grown from strength to strength from there.
What were you sort of picturing CrewTraka, the light globe moment, if you like, or what was the major issue back then where...
Just one?
Well, yeah, because like this is my current synopsis of the industry. Is what started off maybe just doing inductions, then morphed into personnel management, and then we had the whole QR code check-in, so that forced people to then take another step. And what started off as a truly fragmented, one provider does this and another provider does this, like there's this opportunity to integrate it all into one. So what was the issue back then?
Well, look, it was basically, as the name probably suggests, something for managing your day-to-day on your crew, right? So that they had all the information that they needed, that you could track their hours and their overtime. And a big one was also messaging. Now, I couldn't believe when I first sat down with Brett, we were literally sitting at, his kitchen table going through what it was that he wanted. And his phone did not stop going, ping, 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 right? And, after the first sort of 20, 30 messages come through, I'm wondering, how does this guy get anything done in a day when he's getting sort of somewhere between, 300 and 400 text messages? So that was something that was certainly a focus. The funny thing is, CrewTraka doesn't look probably anything like it did when we first developed it. Version 1 doesn't ever look like version 10.
No, but this is what the show's about. This is what I'd love to hear, that it was the most clunkiest, like amateurish version ever that you went to market with, started that, 100%. And now look where it is now.
Yep. And I challenge anybody to create an app and get it right the first go.
Absolutely.
I challenge anybody to create an app in the first place. So and it was only really, it was handled by another company before I sort of came on board, I kind of went about it the wrong way, so it didn't sort of come to light. And even
What
look,
were you doing back then at that time?
I run a media company, right? So my background is actually design and marketing sort of space. I'd had developed up a few apps previously, so user interface, user experience, all that sort of stuff. And like I'd get a person in every other week saying, "Hey, I've got a great idea for an app." And I still hear, every sort of, dozen onboarders that we do for new clients say, "Look, we were thinking about creating our own app."
Yeah.
And look,
Yeah.
everybody does. And look, it's not as easy as you think. And it's going to be way more costly than you think. There probably is good upside on the other end, getting exactly what it is you want. But yeah, it's certainly a different beast when you sort of take it on and start challenging yourself as to what it's actually going to look like and what it's actually going to do.
Do you think nowadays, like, and I'm uneducated in terms of app side of business 5 years ago, like apps were kind of like you started an app, your whole business concept was built around that app, where you tell me if I'm wrong, it's a part of your business, like your social media presence. You might have an app that is integrated into your business, but it's not the number one thing in your business anymore.
No, and it shouldn't be. It's almost it's like one of those tools that if you never have to, focus on it, then it's working for you. So that was the part of the scope of CrewTraka, was basically to create something that was. I mean, we're dealing with software and we're dealing with humans, so you're never going to build something that is absolutely perfect, but it shouldn't be something that takes the majority of your time or your focus, or need any of that sort of I suppose app side management. Really, it is now becomes just another tool, the same way you'd pick up a saw. You use a digital tool. You use the best tools to get the best results in your business when you're whether Sparky, Plumber, Chippy, whatever you might be. Or there's no difference with your digital tools. If you look across what a lot of other suppliers are doing, Zero Accounting being one of them, they have taken what they used to do, which looked very much like, a word processing, very complicated accounting sort of driven sort of thing. And they've turned that around now. So it's not actually focused at, the accountant or the bookkeeper. It's focused at the business owner, and then they've really simplified a lot of processes and made something that's far more accessible to, your average Joe.
All right. So back then, predominantly, CrewTraka was really about the day-to-day management of personnel in construction, basically.
Yep,
That
correct.
was the key
So,
fundamental to
and
sort of solve.
the hard part is, I mean, I suppose the easy part for me initially was that I was dealing with one builder, one construction company, and they were telling me, okay, here's the brief. We need to be able to accomplish this, this, and this, and this, and even that brief got twisted and changed, in a very short amount of time. Okay, well, now we've tried that. We don't actually, maybe that wasn't the solution. Maybe we twist that around and try something else. So the learning curve was extreme. But then you've got to sort of take into account, well, when you're dealing with, 1,700 plus companies, every one of those companies is going to do things. Firstly, they want something that's going to replace what they've always done. So that's their first mistake, really, is saying, okay, we used to run this on whiteboards or paper or a spreadsheet or whatever. Now we're just looking for a digital solution to do exactly what we've always done, but we just wanted it in an app, right? And that makes it very difficult because every business is 10%, 15% different to every other business. So you're never ever going to be able to create an app that's going to tick all the boxes for all the people all the time. So, we found out very early that, probably our first 2 years was the most important time where we listened, we got that feedback. Obviously, we can't implement everything that, is suggested to us, but it was very interesting to see what the key touch points were, and the most important things were to implement without obviously taking one thing away from somebody else who thinks it's great as it is, changing it to make it great for somebody else. So yeah, it's definitely a tightrope.
All right. What did you find were important features to problems back then?
Obviously when we run through the list of wants and likes and that sort of thing, the scheduling and having a two-way communication model with your crew were the most important things. But then, like I was mentioning earlier, as you've worked through these things, they seldom remain, what you started out to achieve, and they often evolve into something that looks quite different on the other side. I suppose the big turning point for us, once we knew we had something special as far as that was concerned, then we started building other bits and pieces around that. And then, one of the biggest ones was when we sort of started going out, to the market. Obviously, you just look for people who are yelling the loudest about what they need and they want. Suppose
So how did you
probably
do it? Take us through that.
Wow. We basically just wrote a really big list, and we had we had a big couple of whiteboards up in front of us, and we just kept writing the bits and pieces down. So, and look, mistakes is one answer. We made some
Absolutely.
in the outset, and we implemented things. We tried to make everyone happy. So as those sort of things would come in, of course we want to sort of say, oh, absolutely, we can do this. Yes, we can do that sort of thing. And we ended up chasing our tails around and trying to make everyone happy. And because of that, we did make mistakes. And it was also, there was a bit of a learning curve for us. Anytime you're working with third party like Apple or Google or Amazon or whoever it might be, there's a fairly intense scrutiny as far as they're concerned on what's allowable and what's not allowable and these sort of things. So, the learning curve was swift for us, and we did, like I said, we made those mistakes, but we also made a lot of advances. We learned from those mistakes, and what I think we deliver now is a pretty solid platform. Because one of those, I suppose, primary functions or primary considerations for us is not impacting someone's business. So something that you really become aware of, and it was fine whilst we were developing up an app for Brett's building company or Brett's construction company. It's a big difference between that and then if things go wrong whilst you're got 50, 100, 200 clients. Then you're affecting these people's ability to take care of business daily, and that comes with a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? When that phone starts ringing and everybody's going, "What the hell's going on? Why can't I do X, Y, Z?" That is a lot of pressure and not one I enjoy being in.
No. But you
Mm.
know what? Like when you do discover in business, we're saying yes all the time and you're chasing your tail. That's also a form of leadership as well, because you soon start realizing, well, even though they're asking me to customize my delivery to suit that particular person, they may actually need to be told, well, what we're doing is far better or advanced, or Billy Bob down the road, we're working with his business and he's doing a really efficient job. So sometimes it is a case of leadership and telling
Yeah,
them, well, you don't actually need, you think you do, but you don't actually need to do this. This is how you should be doing it, or this is how others are doing it.
yeah. No, I completely agree. But education and training was one of those things. We were heavily focused in the outset on let's develop up these really cool tools and deliver these cool things that people are asking for. When really what we should have been doing side by side was developing up a little bit more of the education training, I suppose, side of things. But look, what you're saying is true, and probably what most business owners are looking for, which is where many others, especially the overseas ones, are lacking, is just somebody to actually listen to what they're saying. Whether it's you're going to accept it and say yes, okay, I hear what you're saying. Yep, we'll jump on that and we'll implement something for you. Sometimes it's just a case of or letting them speak, listening to what they're saying, so that then you can go about solving the problem, whether it be by educating them or training them in the tools that you do have available, or perhaps tools that will become available. Which sometimes there's definitely cases where We haven't seen things until they've been pointed out to us, and we've had to sit back and go, oh yeah, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? I don't know why we didn't do that in the lead up, but we're talking about a machine that has not just thousands of moving parts, but hundreds of thousands of moving parts.
Well, it's like me. You get a meeting people and talking to people, you get a very good insight into how a lot of construction businesses operate.
Yeah, you could not ever predict it. And this is what I was saying before about, I do have guys that say, look, if you just had this, it'd be great. If you just had this, or we were going to, we were thinking about doing our own app, but you just cannot have any concept of the complexity of things that you have to do to actually get to the point where we've got to. And look at, and there are plenty that have fallen by the wayside, and there's plenty that have missed the mark. But I think our redeeming feature is our client relations, and when someone needs us, they can pick up the phone, they can talk to any one of us. We don't have things like support tickets where you put in your query and you wait 3 days for someone to get back to you. We know basically the name and occupation of everybody that we serve, and they know that they can call us literally 24/7. So I think in that there also lies that little bit of understanding when things do go wrong. It's easier for somebody to say, well, look, we know Matty's on it, or we know Brett's jumped on this for us, sort of thing. We understand that things go wrong. Whereas if you're a bit faceless, I think you get more people dropping off.
Yeah, that's right. That's that connection and supporting independent businesses as well, which I'm a big advocate for.
Yep.
So if I'm listening to this and I'm a residential builder with 5 guys working for me, or I might be a commercial builder with 25 guys working for me, in a nutshell, how does CrewTraka help me and my business?
So look, there's a heap of tools that CrewTraka can do. We were very focused on what it was we wanted CrewTraka to deliver and what it wasn't going to deliver. So it's very much a case of not what we've crammed in, but what we've left out. Probably, having gone through many of the other software platforms that are out there, they just, the overwhelming factor was that they've just tried to put too much in, and they've overcomplicated a lot of the systems that your average, one bloke with 5 blokes or one bloke with 50 blokes are trying to achieve on a daily basis. And there's the commonality really between that one guy and 5 guys and one guy and 50 guys that, we needed to be. That's the area we need to focus on. They're all really, even though it might be on a larger scale, trying to achieve, those same things. And also, like I mentioned earlier, they don't want to have to be dealing with software or platform or app issues, on top of all of those other things that they have to do, on a daily basis to make sure that their projects are actually making money. When I run through a Zoom with most people when we first get them on board, and we offer free education and training for anybody on an ongoing basis, both them and their crew, what I say is there's a whole bunch of tools. Most people that approach us are looking for solutions for very specific things. So basically, if they can get their scheduling going, so everybody knows where they're going and what they're doing, and then they can access that information without having to go up the line. So you're taking a person away, whether that be a site supervisor, a foreman, or a business owner. You haven't got to take them away from what they are actually having to do day to day to say, where am I going? Who am I supposed to be with? What equipment have I got on board? What's the address again? Even simple things like that. So as I say to most of them, if you can solve those 2 or 3 things that are your bugbears, there's plenty of other things that CrewTraka can do for you. If you want to manage your swims in there, if you want to manage your project expenses in there, there's a lot of stuff that you can do first, and that might be your primary concern. I just want something to be able to handle my swims, get it all signed so that I don't have to chase people around for signatures, and I'm compliant and I don't get fined 150 grand when WorkSafe walk onto site. If that's your thing, then sure, we can help you implement that. And then once you've done that, then look back at perhaps some other things that you can implement through CrewTraka. It's not, and I haven't ever come across a case where someone's jumped on and go, right, we're going to use CrewTracka and we're going to use it all. Let's go. And you certainly can do that, but I wouldn't suggest that's a good idea. I would say probably more than likely it's, tracking your crew hours, overtime, leave, all that sort of stuff, making it easier for your admin to get all that stuff where they need it when they want to run their payroll. Probably not printing out, a whole bunch of paperwork, which basically is just double handling stuff through again. Yeah, that scheduling is our key tool.
And integrated with Xero?
100% integrated with Xero. So basically, there's, when you get your timesheets through every week, there's all your timesheets, overtime, leave, all that sort of stuff is there sitting in Xero for you when you go to hit the payroll button. And we've also just integrated your expenses too. So if you are running sort of any kind of project really, but especially if you're running sort of like a cost plus sort of thing that you need to send those expenses through not only to Xero, but a copy of those invoices and receipts and stuff through to a client. You can quite easily do that directly from CrewTracka.
Essentially, it's an advanced interface tool so that you're using it to, whether it's a personnel application, whether it's a monetary or budget
Safety
application.
And it's quite interesting. They will use it for a specific thing. So, usually, there's a complete doc box on there, for example. So what generally happens is a lot of business owners or managers end up using half a dozen different apps that all do sort of, one thing. So they've got to jump between here and here and there and there to manage all these, daily tasks. So something that we've been focused on was being able to do that scheduling, having crew be able to log their hours in a few different ways. But also then, you've got all your storage for all your project stuff. So whether that be plans, images, notes, documents, it's all can be done in CrewTracka, and it's all part of the cost. There's no added extra cost for storage and other things. So you're not having to go away to DocBox or Google Docs or anything like that. Every project has its own group messaging chat. And you've got a company-wide group messaging chat. So you're not having to jump over to WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or whatever. It's all kept nice and neat, in one little package, which I think is appealing to most business owners.
Yeah, look, people think I'm a bit odd when I think about this, but when you make 100 phone calls a day and on average the time that it takes to get onto the phone for the phone to ring 6 or 7 times, they pick up, hello, how you going? Like, that's being social and normal and everything else. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because that's just part of relationships. But the way the world is, we're just becoming more efficient and we're skipping the blah, blah, blah. We're just like, all right, what's the job? Where is it? When does it have to be done by?
Yeah.
Here are the details. And you don't have to talk to someone. You don't have to lose those time from making those phone calls, which, by the way, adds up to about almost an hour a week. So, that's at whatever hourly rate you are in your business, like that, it's a big deal. It adds up over the year.
What? The data says it's way more than that. You know what I mean? The data actually shows that, you can be saving up to, just on that across a crew, 15 hours a week, and you roll that out over, with an hourly rate over weeks, months, and years, and that's
I was
a big
just talking about ringtones, but what you're talking about is the phone conversations or the communication that you're having.
All the communication
easily more than a day, easily.
Yeah. So, and that sort of stuff adds up, and I think that's where savvy sort of business owners now are looking for ways. And it's not about the minutes. Like, even Brett sort of says he's not creating these sort of things to see, who's slacking off, or he doesn't want to sort of, clock you to the minute, or he's not worried about the minutes. You know what I mean? But, he needs to see where his wins and losses are to be able to adjust how he runs his business, and then, whether a project is actually making money or not. And this is a way, I think, of knowing that sort of information live. So there's not a lot you can do about that, 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the track when you get run back through your numbers and your figures and you say, well, something went wrong there. But the time to act on it is gone. Whereas, when you're running, say, time tracker through the CrewTraka, which is a clock on, clock off, it has a geofence facility to it. It's not about, and you get a lot of, especially concreters who get their back up.
We've got lots of concreters that listen to this show.
thinking that they're getting tracked, and granted, the name does suggest that you're being tracked, right? But you're not, right? And it's a very strict policy, Apple policy, that your privacy is your privacy, and but then at the end of the day. So it doesn't track you. It's not like it draws a little line around you and we can see where you went. But when you clock on and clock off, sure, it drops a pin and they know, your boss knows where you are when you went on and off. You've got to consider that they're also running a business, and without their business being profitable, they can't employ. So it does filter down. If it's a good, profitable business, then it only offers job security. So knowing that sort of information live, knowing when they're having wins and losses, across certain areas of a project or a build or a job, day to day, is super important. And the feedback that we get from the trackarians, as we call them, is pretty good. That they don't only use CrewTraka, but they're an advocate for it. So they're our biggest fans. The amount of referral rates and things that we get from people that are jumping onto CrewTraka, on a daily basis, loving it. Not everyone loves it. Like you have those that either do or don't. But for the most part, yeah, we get a lot of people singing its praises, which we're always stoked to hear about.
Matt, since you get around and you see, so many construction businesses like I do, what's probably been one of the biggest eye-openers, if you like, or one of the most interesting things that you've seen?
Probably the most interesting thing along the way, and what I like the most is seeing guys that probably a little more aging, if you want to call it that. That
older guys,
probably up until a couple of years ago, having to check in and out because of COVID, probably haven't used apps and had no intention of using apps and those sort of things. So after working through, with them, what CrewTraka can do, and seeing them be able to not only implement, but then also utilize themselves. And they always preface it with, I don't know what I'm doing, but, one of my guys will, you know what I mean? They'll be able to, like either a foreman or a manager or whoever it might be, I've got no idea what I'm doing, but, I'm sure someone in my company will be able to sort this out. So they obviously they have identified, that need. Somebody along the line there has said, okay, we need to stop writing these down. I mean, I went into one concreting business, and they would write. They had about 30 guys. They would write all the day's work down on whiteboards, and then the guys would come in and rescribe it into their daily books. And you look at guys doing that, you think, wow, I mean, obviously it's just what they've always done. But like you think, man, I'm going to be your best friend, right? I'm going to show you a way to do this. And I've spent not very long, actually, probably after a couple of hours. We've got them on board, got them up and running, and these guys come back and they're just so happy. At the end of the day, they come back and they say, "Oh, no, just got to thank you." And they're also the ones that are probably call you 5 or 6 times a day. Look, I know you told me this, but I've forgotten again, and I need to know how to do this and this and this. And
but they get there. That's the point.
They absolutely get there. And look, some of them have even taken a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, to really sort of embrace it and engage. But now that they have, you'll see by our reviews, they say they just couldn't do without it. They would never look back. So, they're in. Well, we've created not only a good client, but an advocate for, our brand as well.
So what's next on the cards with CrewTraka? What sort of other industries are you sort of
Well,
being chased in?
we've got a lot. We're currently hiring at the moment. All of our stuff is done in house, so that was one of the keys for us when we first started. Developing that. We didn't want to send anything offshore. Everything had to be done, at our offices in Victoria. And we've got a really, really good crew. We think we've got a solid crew at the moment. But probably we've got a couple of key integrations we're working on with larger companies. Procore is one of those. So to further sort of offer some more tools, not only to a local market, but also to an international market. So, but before we do that, we want to make sure that we're, got our T's crossed and I's dotted. But we've got some pretty, exciting tools. We're always developing. So there's never a time when we haven't got, 10, 15 items on our board to make, life easier. And something that Brett always says, that no matter what we bring out, it will always be handed out free. So, our cost is such that, you get what you pay for, sort of thing. And there's never any, you like it, you stay, you don't, that's fine. But there's never anything that we will add or that sort of thing where it will be, an added cost. So,
so just on that, like take us through, and it's listed online, but for the people listening to this, take us through your pricing structures.
Yeah, so look, we're like I say to many people, we're pretty flexible. We've got a little 6-pack because we know that there's a lot of guys out there that perhaps can't, access, those larger platforms because they do charge an arm and a leg. So for $59, basically, you can run 6 crew, you and 5 crew.
That's a monthly payment.
That's just a monthly subscription.
Yep.
You can save yourself 10% if you want to go over a year. And the next one up from there is 12 for $149, 25 for $279, or 50 for $449. Now, something I say to guys as well, like we're we like to think that we're pretty accessible and pretty understanding. So, if I get sort of somebody who's maybe on a basic account and say, look, Matt, call me up. Well, we've just put on this big project. I need to put on 4 extra guys. We're not going to make you upgrade. Right, we'll say, well, no problems. We'll give you an extra. I mean, it's all within reason, and I think a lot of understanding from both sides has always had. It'd be different if you want to add an extra 10 guys and 4 managers.
Or you've had another 4 or 5 projects that are.
Well, exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
I mean,
so we're pretty
supporting
flexible.
people.
Yeah, we love the fact that we support people. And look, even during COVID, we've had quite a few guys say, listen, Matt, the invoices are just not coming in. We're not getting paid for the work, that sort of thing. So, and we're always happy to sort of say, look, don't worry about CrewTraka. We'll flick a month or 2 for you till we get you back in settled. And that, what, they've always come back, and they've always sort of come back around. Yeah, and so I think if you've got that mentality where it is the industry supporting industry, it bodes well for you up on the other side.
I think you guys are obviously doing some exciting things in the industry, and I certainly love that. You're helping all ends of the stick. You've got your big boys up there, multinational companies turning over, well over $1 billion a year to the local guys who are just having a go and doing some great things on the smaller scale.
Yep. And anybody, and really, look, although we were initially, designed for that building construction sort of, and trades industry, we've got businesses from all over. So basically, if you're looking for something for group messaging and scheduling, or just to handle your expenses and that sort of thing, you don't even necessarily have to be in that industry. CrewTraka can work for you, sort of thing. But, the majority are in that industry. They like what they see, and we've got plenty more coming.
Look, exciting stuff. And, Matt from CrewTraka, it's been a pleasure sitting down here talking to you, and thanks for coming on to Build Hatch.
Thanks, Aaron. Cheers.
Well, that was another Build Hatch episode with Matt from CrewTraka. Matt and the CrewTraka team were nice enough to offer an exclusive 10% discount only available for those listening to Build Hatch. So if their software is something that you are interested in, you'll be able to go onto their website, which is CrewTraka.com, sign up for a free 14-day trial, and then you can then select Build Hatch as the discount code. Well, as usual, if you know a hard worker having a go in the construction space, or a building related business, personal product where you love what they are doing or selling, then please do get into contact with us. We'll be more than happy to tell their story and get behind their goods or service on the BuildHatch marketplace. Our team are busy rolling out independent sellers on buildhatch.com as we speak, so stay tuned for more and more products and services as they are onboarded. As usual, please check out our own Instagram page and other socials where you'll be able to learn more about our guests and the features of the work that we talk about. Have a great week, and you'll hear me again on the airwaves next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of BuildHatch.
You have experienced a BuildHatch developed production.